Jonathan Rogers to talk about biomass and the low carbon economy. Welcome, Jonathan.
Hi, I'm Johnny Rogers, and I'm here to talk to you about biomass. Collectively, biomass contributes more to fuel and power than any other form of renewables in the United States. And I'll tell you a little bit about the challenges facing the industry and the importance of biomass in achieving a low carbon economy. In 2014, we consumed about 365 million tons of biomass. The very best estimates from the US Department of Energy, I think we can get to 1 billion by 2030, but that requires some explosive growth in things like energy crops and forest plantations, but there's really no economic incentive to do that. It's not going to happen. But we will have about 500 million tons of waste biomass resources, things that we throw into landfills, flush down the toilets, and let pile up in farmers' fields. We got to figure out, what are we going to do with these resources? We've got a lot of problems to solve because the US emits a lot of carbon across a number of different sectors. And we have to think about this holistically as to where biomass can best complement other forms of renewables and low carbon forms of transportation. Because transportation is the largest form of emissions in the United States. And for a long time, biofuels were touted as the solution to the problem. However, after decades of trying, there's been little success, and now electric vehicles are starting to look like the future. When you think biofuels, you probably think corn ethanol, but it's really a terrible use of resources. It takes about 40% of US corn to only displace about 10% of gasoline, which we've got better resources we can use and more important markets to go after. The next generation of biofuels was a step forward. We're using agricultural wastes that can actually displace about 90% of greenhouse gas emissions compared to gasoline, but every commercial endeavor so far has failed. And it's because, again, it's the wrong market. Biofuels are not ideal for the light-duty vehicle problem. At best, you can displace about 25% of the fuels required for cars, and we don't have enough resources to do it, and you still have tailpipe emissions that you breathe in cities. But with something like aviation, the life cycle greenhouse gas reduction makes a lot more sense. We actually have enough biomass that we can displace all of US petroleum jet fuel, and the biofuel companies can actually form long-term partnerships with airlines as stable partners. If you have any doubts about biofuel performance for jet fuel, just ask the Navy. In 2016, they consumed about 77 million gallons in their Great Green Fleet demonstration. As I mentioned earlier, biomass is a significant contributor to US power generation. However, with the emergence of renewables and low-cost natural gas, it's no longer economically competitive for biopower to compete. But that creates a problem. As plants close, millions of tons of waste biomass resources pile up. And this impacts industries like California almond farms that either have to pay more to dispose of their waste biomass or just openly burn the biomass in their fields. And as society, we need to think, why do we settle for waste disposal instead of waste utilization? We even go so far as to ship tens of millions of tons of human waste from New York to landfills in Alabama. It does not make sense, especially when we have technologies that can take a variety of waste resources and convert them into value-added products, and not just electricity and fuel, but the other portion of petroleum that don't go into those things, that we need low-carbon alternatives for. Because at least 7% of each barrel of petroleum goes into non-fuel products like glues, cleaners, solvents, and plastics, and as great as wind and solar are, they're not coming up with alternatives to those. We need biomass. The USDA BioPreferred program is one initiative that's trying to kickstart the bio-based product industry. The program database includes over 20,000 replacements for industrial packaging, plastics, and other products. They've got federally mandated purchasing programs that are helping to jumpstart it. And as these products are becoming more competitive, major corporations are starting to adopt them. They recognize that they can obtain their sustainability goals and improve better functionality of their products. And bio-based have some really unique advantages where you can take microorganisms, actually genetically modify them so they can capture industrial off-gases like from steel plants, and make highly specific products to target the exact molecules we need to displace petroleum. So, what is biomass's role in the low-carbon economy? Well, we need to think about all of the sectors that need to be decarbonized and figure out where can biomass resources best complement these other low-carbon options. We've got a lot of waste biomass resources available, and by targeting things like reducing emissions in the aviation sector, capturing industrial gases, and creating low-carbon alternatives to petroleum-based chemicals and products, we can really move things forward. Thank you.